meeting of the Carbon County Commissioners to order with a moment of silence, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, bless us as we gather for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so we will work for our county. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of preparing accurate written minutes. Recordings are overwritten following approval of the minutes, eliminating all unofficial records of these proceedings. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held April 20th, 2023.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Are there any guests on county business? The coroner, Bob? You wanna,
I have a couple of things I'd like to ask.
okay,
Every once in a while, the coroner's office requests the fire department for assistance.
okay.
Sometimes the patient weighs 500 pounds or something like that. It's not very often. In fact, I think in 8 years since I'm coroner, I only asked the fire department like 4 times. I know it's Fire District 4, 7, 10, 11, and 14 or something. Anyway, why is it that Lehighton Fire Department is the only one that sends a bill out? All the other fire departments, they're glad to help, but I get a bill from Lehighton. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I had a death on November the 5th, 2019. I didn't call for the fire department, the police did, Lehighton Police. But the county got a bill from the Lehighton Fire Department. And I refused to pay it. I, as coroner, refused to pay it. And I'll go on record and I'm saying I will never, as long as I'm coroner, ask Lehighton Fire Department for help. I mean, I look at the county, I look at the voters. They don't need this. And I'll tell you what happened in that bill. Mr. Notstein found funding in Carbon County and paid that bill. Above my recommendation, no, he paid it. And who did he pay it to? The Lehighton Fire Department. To me, that's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I don't know about whatever anybody else thinks, but I think that was a conflict of interest.
Well, we'll certainly check into that, and I mean,
I
my
know
opinion,
it's water over the dam, you can't do anything.
but my opinion, if you would call, then yeah, we would get billed, but if they called and it was their department, I mean, I think I would have a little discrepancy with that myself, that they called them and they billed their own.
I was really upset.
Okay.
The reason I said that is Saturday we had another instance in Lehighton. The Lehighton ambulance, and we have it on tape, on the 911 tape. Lehighton ambulance called for Lehighton Fire Department to handle it's basically a crime scene at that time till the coroner gets there. And we didn't need the Lehighton Fire Department. They showed up. What do I do if I get a bill from them?
I mean, I think what I said before, if you call them, I could see them giving us a bill. I think it's a little bit different now. I don't know what, I mean, we'll have to talk to Lehighton on what their policies are. Maybe, I don't know if other towns have policies that they do that automatically, but I think we have to address that. If we don't call, we're not gonna pay. Simple as that.
Because I'm gonna refuse that because I didn't call them.
Right.
If I call them, I'll pay them, but I didn't call them.
Bob, I would say under the position you give, I think you see the support of Commissioner Arner and myself to hold your position fast and support you, again, with the information you provided. And as Rocky said, we'll look into,
I wanna know
that.
what's right.
Right,
that's-
good enough.
Okay, all right, thank you, Bob. Oh,
Another thing I have to ask, the county commissioners sued pharmaceutical companies a couple years ago?
Right, part of it.
my chief deputy put in over 700 hours, cause he had to go to archives. We had to go back to 1996 and get all the data on every death. He put in over 700 hours and he spent 9 hours in deposition or whatever. I was wondering if there's any way we can compensate him for any of that.
While I defer to the solicitor, our understanding is no, it can't be used to compensate expenses that have already incurred, but rather to be used towards the prevention and treatment.
Okay,
It's part of the cost of litigation. Discovery is a routine aspect of litigation, so.
okay. I was just wondering because this has been going on. I talked to Rocky about it.
Yeah, and we're in the situation where we're sitting on some money that, in fact, that's what we talked about the drug and alcohol on Monday about. And we want, that supposedly we can use, what do they have, what is it, what is the amendment that they have, Amendment D or whatever?
Schedule E.
Or Schedule E, yeah. It's so convoluted with words that we really don't know what to use the money for. And I think it's time that we get out there and start using the money. And I think that's what we're gonna try to do. We just can't sit on it. I think currently we have approximately $800,000. And there's a time limit on it, 18 months, so we gotta start using it. And pretty soon if we don't use it, our time limit is gonna be up. So what's gonna happen when we don't use it there? Are they gonna stop the next payment of 400,000? And I don't think we need this drug problem is not gonna go away. And like I said, we will have a little bit different news hopefully in the next month. I'm trying to put together, the 3 counties, all the school districts, and even the public defender and, district attorney and see what we can do to combat this problem. We just can't sit here and just think next year. I think we gotta do it right now. And we are working on it. I'd like to have a meeting, between the 3 counties, probably within the next month. They wanted to wait till the next meeting, which we have bi-monthly meetings. I'm not waiting that long. This problem is not going away. All right, well, thank you, Bob.
All right, in addition to that money in our cremation fund right now. The state just allowed us to bill for cremations. We have $113,000 in the cremation fund. Can I ask where that money is?
It's probably in the cremation fund, and I think maybe what you should look into it, what you could use it for, and if it's there to use for the coroner, use it. I mean, like I said, we can't let money sit in there.
That's what the state says, you can use it to upgrade the coroner's office.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, we'll always consult with Jeff, Jeff Weiss, our financial advisor in that regards, but just the budget.
That's no problem, we
Yeah.
gotta start, like you said, we gotta start using it, we're gonna use it.
exactly. All right,
Okay,
thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? We did have 2 executive sessions, Tuesday, April 25th, 2 PM for personnel, and Wednesday, April 26th at 1:30 for personnel.
Okay, the next item is department reports, the budget transfers.
Move to approve.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Supplemental appropriations?
Move to approve.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Expenditures, approval of payroll check numbers 74990 through 75014, and direct deposit check numbers 6052485 through 6052914 for the payroll paid through the payroll fund checking account for all county funds totaling $643,038.04. This is the payroll dated April 21st, 2023.
Motion to ratify?
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Approval of check numbers 235668 through 235802 for expenditures to the general fund clearing account totaling $714,377.57.
Move to approve.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
The treasurer's report.
Move to accept.
Second,
Mr. Honor?
yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
The personnel report for county departments.
Motion approved?
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
The acknowledgements for courts and row offices.
Motion acknowledged?
And I'll second on discussion. And simply for clarification, for those who are present and being introduced to county government, you notice the Board of Commissioners approved the personnel report for county, and what we're doing is a motion has been made to simply acknowledge the courts and row officers. We talked about different authorities and responsibilities. The row officers and the courts have hire, fire, manage their office authorities, 1620 rights. Therefore, we're not approving them. We are acknowledging that we see them, we read them, or we're aware of them.
Next item is the correspondence was received as listed. Copies will be made available to the press upon request. Bid award. Animal Shelter HVAC Replacement Project for approval. Recommendation from Shane Kniper of Snyder Hoffman Associates to award the contract for the HVAC replacement at the Carbon County Animal Shelter to the low bidder, Shannon A. Smith Incorporated of Myerstown, Pennsylvania, at the bid price of $202,000.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mock Chunk Lake Park, Boat Launch B repaving and vaulted restrooms project. For approval, recommendation from Carbon Engineering Incorporated to award the contract for the Carbon County Mock Chunk Lake Park Boat Launch B paving and vaulted restrooms project to the low bidder, Lehigh Asphalt Paving and Construction Company Incorporated of Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, at their bid price of $383,547.25.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes, and just a point of clarification, again, for the students who are with us. 2 weeks ago, the controller, in our presence, opened the bids for these two particular projects. Normally what we do is we send them back, we table them for 2 weeks to give our subject matter experts an opportunity to review them, to make sure they are the lowest, I like to use the term, the lowest acceptable, technically feasible bid. That comes back to us in about a 2-week time period, then we vote on actually awarding the bid. That's all.
And I think to continue with that, with the Mock Chunk Lake issue, that is coming out of our parking fund. That we are not raising taxes for
Right.
such
Yeah.
situations like that. And going back to the animal shelter,
Yeah.
that is coming out of the American Rescue Plan that we have, that we're using that wisely. We're not using it for one time, or we are using them for something that is one-time items and not using it that will continue to cost us money in the future.
Yeah. I think Commissioner Arn made a great point about the funds we're using to help assist with this grant project at Mock Chunk Lake Park. Parking revenue, we get over $1 million a year in parking revenue, and that's up from about $450,000 just 3 years ago. That's and that is primarily 95% of those funds come from tourists coming into the county seat using county parking facilities. We focus those funds simply on parks and parking. Mock Chunk Lake Park, Josiah White Park, which is maintenance of the train station that the county owns, taking care of all our paving projects throughout the properties that we own.
Okay. Next item is courts for approval and execution. A proposal was received from Vistacom of Allentown, Pennsylvania, to purchase an audio and video conferencing system for courtroom number 1 at a cost of $125,205.81, including a 5-year Vistacom managed services plus Polygold seal at a cost of $31,774.47, for a total of $156,980.28. The proposal includes equipment, installation, and training, and under the CoStar's contract number 034 E22-156.
Motion to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes, and Ellie, I'm gonna ask you to explain to the students who are present CoStars and what that provides us, right? Because again, that's,
Okay, the state has various programs that vendors can join. be it either the Pennsylvania State Contract System or CoStars. There's also purchasing cooperatives that vendors can join where they agree to the terms and conditions of those entities to provide a low price to governmental agencies so that we do not have to go out on bid.
Did you hear a certain word? She said a low price. She didn't say the lowest price, right? Again, a lot of this is convenience and speed at which we can execute a necessary project. Once we hit the threshold of about 21,000, a little bit more, we have to go out in a formal bid process. So again, if they're a CoStars participant or one of those other programs, we don't necessarily, we can make the decision to leverage the existing agreements with those entities or service providers.
Okay.
Yeah. Great, good job, Ellen. Yeah, you're good.
Human Services for acceptance, the fiscal year 2022-2023 State Food Purchase Program's third quarter expense and data report as submitted by Shepherd House Incorporated to the Department of Agriculture.
Move to approve.
And I will second that with a little bit of discussion for the students. The county receives money from the agricultural department for food banks. The county itself has contracts the Shepherd House that distributes the food. We are very fortunate to have a group like that. It's all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. And like I said, if that was in county, some of the other counties that border us pay very highly to have this done to feed people. So if you can volunteer, there's 9 food banks that are that's under the county, and there are other food banks that are at different places like churches and if you can, I think this is a great opportunity to get out into the public and see what's happening in Carbon County. But I said I commend all of them for that, but try to get at one of them.
I'd like to poll the board. Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Emergency Management. For adoption and execution, authorize the execution of the promulgation statement for 2023, updated for the Carbon County Emergency Operations Plan.
Yeah, move to adopt and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
The HMRF grant, State Fiscal Year 2023-2024 Hazardous Materials Response Fund budget for the grant performance period of July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 in the amount of $7,310.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Planning and Development, Recycling, for approval and execution, the Act 101, Section 903, Recycling Coordinator Grant Application for 2022, estimated reimbursement $1,471.69.
Move to approve and execute.
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
For approval and execution, the Executive Order 2021-6, the Worker Protection and Investment Certification Form, as required for the Act 101, Section 903 Recycling Coordinator Grant Application for 2022.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
The Solicitor's Report?
Thank you. Under Parks and Recreation, seeking approval and execution of a special activities agreement for the use of Mock Chunk Lake Park by St. Mark's and St. John's Episcopal Church for their Race Street Run. It's a 4-mile and 15-kilometer foot race to be held on June 24th, 2023, and this conditioned on the receipt of a certificate of insurance.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Also for approval and execution of a special activities agreement for Rachel Weldon and Chris Conca of Broomall, PA, for a beach wedding to be held on Saturday, October 18, 2023.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
At the 525 Iron Street project, seeking approval and execution of change order number 1 to the contract with Triangle Fire Protection Incorporated of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, for credit due to eliminating an attic sprinkler. This change order will decrease the contract by $4,000 for a new contract total of $74,780.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
And seeking motion to enter into a revenue support agreement with the Lehigh and Northampton Transportation Authority, or LANTA, to implement a Mock Chunk Lake Beach bus route that will serve the communities of Jim Thorpe, Lansford, Summit Hill, and Nesquehoning on 14 consecutive Saturdays commencing June 3rd, 2023, and concluding with the September 2, 2023 Labor Day weekend. The cost of the service prior to fare collections and other potential revenue generating offsets is $4,167.24.
I'd move to approve and then ask if there's a second for discussion.
Second for discussion.
Brandon, could you bring in AJ via Zoom, please? Hi, AJ, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. AJ, we just made the motion, seconded for discussion. I want to bring you in to talk about what was discussed and the mitigation steps that are being proposed based upon the concerns that were raised last week at the meeting, which then we brought back up for reconsideration after the changes that you're recommending in regards to the concerns raised. No.
So I'm happy to talk about any of those, and as mentioned last week, we're open to making any sort of policy changes to make this as safe as possible for everybody.
Yeah.
So as mentioned last week, we're officially 12 and older, and we have drivers prepped on that to make sure that no one under the age of 12 gets on board the bus. Drivers are encouraged and required, actually, if anybody appears under 12, to verify age and deny service if anyone under the age of 12 attempts to board a bus. So they're allowed to ask for any form of ID for that. I'm not sure if there were any other questions or concerns.
Let's check with Commissioner Arner and see if he has any other issues or concerns that he needs to
Well,
address.
the only thing, I mean, when I brought up last week was like the ID was the big thing for me. I see you're trying to make things happen, and I think this is a good thing. I'm not against it, but I see, like, even on the news last night, I know Commissioner Lukasevich was on, and I listen to the people, our constituents, and they're not settled on putting kids on a bus without supervision. And that's sort of where I'm at. I mean, I'd like to see an ID thing. And I mean, there was a comment last week that bus drivers from the schools let kids off, and they don't. When I talked to the bus company, they don't. They have to have written permission either to the school or either from the parent. And this is something that is going to be on the weekends where we have our highest admission. And I want to make sure that these kids are safe. And I'm just not settled on it yet. Where we're at, and I understand your public transportation, and children can get on the bus wherever they want. They can get off of the bus wherever they want. And I think, like I said before, it was titled whatever it was, bus to the park. They can get off because it is considered public transportation. I don't think there's anything stopping a child that wants to get off. If they would get on in Summit Hill, they could get off in Lansford. And I don't think there's any checks when they get to the park. Currently, we have 2 lifeguards. I talked to the park director yesterday, and we have 2 lifeguards, and we should have 4 to properly operate, and we should have a full complement of 10 to operate properly. And I think, for me, I would like to make the park safe before we start shipping people there. I mean, that's just my opinion, and there are a lot of other opinions out there, but I'm just sticking with that. I mean, the way I understand, we have two other lifeguards that are going through training. They will probably not be certified before the park opens. So what are we gonna do with 2 or 3? And yes, there's a way to stop the bus if the park is closed, but there's really no, I just don't see it, and the kids get dropped off there. To me, how do we know they're going home at night? How do we know somebody's picking them up? How do we know they're not going home with somebody else that they really don't know? And that's my concern. I think it's a great idea to get them to the park, get them out. And I think I'll go with the comment that the lady had last night. She likes the idea of families. So do I, and I like the kids getting there if they would have supervision. And I just don't see how this is gonna work, and I don't need anything to happen, because, you know, you see things in Allentown, we see things all over the country, and how they operate is not the way that we operate. I'm a commissioner from Carbon County, and I'm concerned about this. And if there's something, like I said, if we have the sheriff here, we can do IDs for the kids. There's so many ways that we can make this safe. And like I said, right now, we're gonna be shipping somebody there and possibly not even have lifeguards. And then when there aren't lifeguards there, what do we do when it's swim on your own? And it still goes back to what I said, the ID. I have a nephew that's 9 years old, and looks like he could be 15, 16 years old. And I hear that, yes, we can check IDs, but is it gonna be done? To me, it should be required. And what happens when they get to the park, and they're responsible for the money when they get to the park? What happens if they get on the bus and are okayed for the bus and they don't have the $2 to pay at the park, whatever they do? I think there has to be something else more put in place. And like I said, I'm not against this, and I think we're just rushing into it too much before we know the outcome. And I think it's a great idea. And like I said, I'm just not settled on. I would be willing to table it again, or if we put it to a vote. I would not vote yes for it. I think everybody can see that. But voting no for this, I don't think it should stop. You know, but I mean, it's a great thing. And you're different than what our busing is, and I think we're used to what is happening in our county. You know, you get to Allentown, 5-year-old kids or whatever can get on the bus because that's their transportation to school. You know, here it's a little bit different. This is something new to us, and I would love to see more enhanced areas of our transportation done. But I think we have to have a policy in place, and I don't think we ever even checked into our insurance carriers on what they even think about this. You know, where are we covered? Are you covered? And I think before we do a contract, there's some things that have to be settled with me. And that's all I have to say.
Sure, and I'm happy to address those concerns. 2 things I would add. The way it's structured is drivers are required to check for any form of age verification. So that can include if there's a separate form of ID, an ID, and if the county wants to print specific IDs for children of the beach, that would be included in age verification. Our drivers are the same drivers every week, and they will know these riders. And then the last point in the current policy is that all children ride at the discretion of the parents or guardians. So parents and guardians are welcome to submit, you know, my child only goes to these stops. And the driver can implemented that in other areas, and that we've added the policy to Carbon at the request here. We're feeling pretty confident in the safety of children from that perspective. In terms of fare payment, I'm not quite sure I understand the concern for not having the fare.
I'm just saying when they get to the park, if they pay on the bus to get there, what's ensuring them that they're gonna have the $2 or whatever to pay to get into the park? I don't think it's free to get into the park unless we would have no lifeguards. And then that's another situation.
I'm not sure how we could address that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's-
I don't think you can. I think it's on our end that we have to have a policy of our own. And I said, this is something that, we have to look at all angles before we step into it. And I said, I'm just not happy with, and I said, I go out in the public, I'm up in different parts of the county, and I have not heard anybody that said, that they don't think it's a good idea, but their second comment is they just don't like kids unattended. And I'm not going back to the Dorney Park thing, where Dorney Park wants kids at 15 years old to be supervised. That's a little bit different. They have cameras and they have a different system, but that's Dorney Park. But like I said, I'm a county commissioner from Carbon County, and I'm concerned about our kids from Carbon County.
Well, and the good thing with potential park closure is that the schedule is structured so that there is a return bus 20 minutes later for each trip. So if anybody gets to the park and there's an issue, that driver will be at the park again 20 minutes later and can return them back to where they started.
And is there gonna be a list of who you took there?
There is not a list, but
Exactly.
if a parent or guardian provides instructions for that driver, they can be attentive to that, absolutely.
You could take 20 kids there and 14 of them could possibly come back. That's the scenario I'm looking at. If this is to get them to and from the park, and like I said, at the schools, they give a note that they're getting off at the grandmother. If they have something to the bus driver, that there's 5 of them getting picked up, by their aunt or uncle or whatever it is, that's a little bit of a different story. And I said, I'm just not settled on it yet.
So if you'd go to Philadelphia, ride SEPTA. You'd go to Washington DC, ride WMATA. Go to Boston, the MTA. Chicago, CTA. San Francisco, BART. Go to Harrisburg, and I'm talking to the public, right, and those who are watching us here. What's the age requirement in those metropolitan areas to ride a bus 24/7 or at any time they're operating? There is no minimum age requirement to ride a bus. Children all over this country ride buses, public transportation, every single day, to include Saturdays and Sundays. I haven't seen, let's require an ID to get on a bus for someone who could be 17 or 18 years old, but we won't require that when you go to the polls to elect. But the fact is, this issue is about those individuals in these communities having access to Mock Chunk Lake Park. The average median income, Carbon County, is $59,000 a year. What do you think the median income is in Nesquehoning, Summit Hill, and Lansford? I'll tell you, in Lansford, it's $20,000 less. So what does that mean? More likely that you have less access to high-quality outdoor recreational opportunities, such as Mock Chunk Lake Park. You don't have a community pool in Lansford, in Jim Thorpe, in Nesquehoning, or in Summit Hill. Again, so your opportunities to have a family experience, reinforce the family as a unit, we're gonna limit because we won't accept a certain level of risk. Life is full of risk, right? You take steps to mitigate risk. The Lanta in Northampton and Lehigh County has an excellent record. AJ, are there any incidences associated with abduction, abuse of children in Lehigh or Northampton in regards to riding the transit system there?
No, not from any transit vehicles. We have supported with abduction cases using our cameras on board buses that were unrelated to our bus. Cameras provide safety on the streets by a bus rolling by, but no, not on board or from any vehicles.
Okay.
riders.
All right, so we have precedence of being able to safely transport children actually below 12. What's the minimum age for Lehigh Northampton Transit for someone to ride unaccompanied by an adult or guardian?
Well,
12, that is now, right? Not for the beach bus, I'm talking for the Lanta system, not Carbon Transit.
for Lanta system, our age is 12.
12.
It's 12 in the system.
Right, and we raised it, we brought it up to 12 here in Carbon County based upon our request, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, all right. Just like I will tell you, what, we made the decision at our park to also increase the age of unaccompanied. Unaccompanied, just 2 weeks ago, could have been younger than 12 and actually been unaccompanied at Mock Chunk Lake Park. So we've taken appropriate and necessary steps to safeguard individuals who would use this system to have a high-quality outdoor recreational experience. We gotta keep kicking the can down the road. There's 101 days of summer. We just took away the opportunity last week for family and youth to visit Mock Chunk Lake Park. Low-cost outdoor recreational experience with transportation provided. All right, now we've just lost another week. And I'll tell you what's gonna happen here. It's gonna end up being Labor Day, and we're still gonna be talking about mitigating risk. Life is risky, right? You have to accept a certain level of risk. That's all I have. End of
Well,
discussion.
and I
Oh,
can
go
add
ahead,
that,
Jim.
I can personally vouch that, I've been riding the bus by myself since I was 5. In Milwaukee, they had a 5 and under policy. And my parents put me on the city bus, to go to school each day, because it's safer with the driver. It's safer than walking, and it's even safer than driving. There is, documents of buses being just generally safer. But to the concern, our Atlanta has liability coverage, general liability coverage for any incidents, to the question of coverage, up to $3 million. So there is already coverage. There isn't any additional need for coverage from the county. That's part of the RSA agreement structure. It doesn't put any additional liability on the county there. That liability comes entirely with Atlanta.
So I would call upon my colleague to lay out a point paper of the specific asks, so that next week we don't return here, and again, that goal line seemingly keeps moving to the right along a timeline. So I would ask my colleague to lay out a specific point paper with the issues to be addressed. They can forward those to Lanta and the Parks and Rec Commission, or at least the park director, to see if we can alleviate those concerns.
And I think all my concerns are the one that I have every week. How are we addressing, somebody getting off of the bus and understand, do the parents always know they're putting the kid on Summit Hill and he's not even making it, to the park? I think we have to address something. We do have issues at the park. We do have the sheriff's department going out there on the weekends, because that is the highest amount of, I can't say issues, but we get an influx from, Beltsville Park. So I think, and like I said, I'm not against this. I think we have to look at the safety, and we look at the safety no matter where we're at. If it's in our buildings, we make sure there's a sheriff's deputy there. We're doing different things. And I go back to it again. I'm not a commissioner of Philadelphia. I'm not a commissioner of another county. I'm a commissioner of Carbon County. And I just feel this is not in place. And I think I've been telling AJ, what can we put in place, or can the park board come up with something that there is a way that when they get there, they have to sign. And I said the big concern is, what if you take 20 kids there and only 10 go back? What happened to them other 10? And it could be on a day that we don't have no lifeguards. Where do they go? They're gonna walk around the camping area. They're gonna say, wow, look at all the campers, or look at the tents. I think, and I agree with Chris, I think the kids are more responsible, but then I said, I look at the drug and alcohol issues we have, a lot of it is in our middle schools. I mean, this is the age group that is from that 10 to 15 years old, 10 to 14. And I just have mixed feelings about this, of not having the kids supervised. So-
I do have just kind of a question regarding beach access, because our beach stop is beyond the fair gates. So our driver would know if the beach is closed. I thought the beach was open this entire time, and it sounds like the concern is when a lifeguard isn't there. Do people still pay to access the beach when a lifeguard's not there?
When there's less than two, when we can't provide coverage in at least one of the 3 swimming areas, there is no fee to get in. It is swim at your own risk. We simply keep a lifeguard at the lifeguard station. And then obviously, there's intermittent patrols by the rangers throughout the park. But swim at your own risk at no fee.
Okay, because our driver goes through that beach gate to access the beach stop, and it can easily be the case that riding at the parent's discretion, the parent can state if there is a fee, return the child home, and the driver would go to Jim Thorpe and bring the child right back to Sunnydale or Nescahoning. That's part of that parental discretion clause that the driver has to follow.
Well, that's a policy that you can work on until next week.
I mean, that's a
we
policy
can.
that's included.
Yeah, that we can, or,
The
yeah.
policy's there written to allow the parent to make that decision of whatever they want. So that's up to the parent to decide if they want to not let a child off if there's no gate fee.
okay.
Thank you, AJ.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, but it was for discussion. Do we have,
Well, it was seconded, then we went into discussion.
And do we
Yeah, so
want
now
to table
the
this
vote.
or not?
No, take it to a vote, right?
Okay.
It's, because that's the point we're at.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
okay, so it's for approval. Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Any other motion concerning that?
I'm sure we'll have another one next week.
We'll change it to 13 weeks and lower the price $80 or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
Okay, any further business? Hearing none. Commissioners' reports, Mr. Honor?
I do wanna just report on a couple things. I had the opportunity while the students are here, to hear this. I did, get to view, the active shooter training, at our center. And I have to commend, Sheriff Ziegler for, what they're doing, and I don't know, he might be able to explain it a little bit better than me, but when I was in there, I had to wear a mask and the whole 9 yards for protection. And I think their scenario was, they have training and this was going on for like 2 weeks. And it's to make our county, our schools, wherever there's any issues that could be possible, on this active training. And when I watched it, they were doing single officers going in. There was gonna be another one, where there would be a team of officers, maybe, or an officer and his partner. And then it's maybe 4 of them, and the scenario would be up to maybe 2 shooters. And, you see what's happening around the world. I think we are very fortunate that, this was available to all of our departments. And I don't know if the sheriff would wanna comment a little bit on that, on what happened there, what I witnessed.
Yeah, just real briefly, I mean, we've been talking about this for a couple weeks. It was a year in the making for us to get this scheduled. Last week, we had 12 Carbon County law enforcement officers trained as instructors. And the goal of that was then for those instructors to train all the other local law enforcement officers. If something like this occurs in our county, the reality is there's gonna be multiple people from multiple agencies showing up. We all needed a common language, common tactics, on how we're gonna respond to that. Today is the last day, of the 2 trainings that we did offer to other, local law enforcement agents. It has been very successful. This is step 1. We're gonna offer this training on an ongoing basis. It is free of cost. We reach out to Texas State, we make the request to host a class. They send us all of the equipment. and now we are all trained to facilitate that. Interestingly enough, this has been publicized. I know Amy Miller from the Times News was one of our volunteers. She was able to see how this played out. Members of the community have already reached out for the instructors to provide a CRAZE training, which is a civilian response to active shooter situations. So we will now be working on putting together and finalizing a curriculum to offer that. I believe Chief Weaver from Nesquehoning spoke about that last night at the council meeting. So him and I are gonna team up to provide that to as many people as possible. And we'll be able to do that on an ongoing basis to school districts that are interested, places of worship, anybody from the community that is interested in that. We're gonna start scheduling it. So it's an exciting time for law enforcement now that we're able to have this. And this wouldn't just apply to active shooter situations. You know, anybody who follows the Sheriff's Office Facebook page, you see the amount of warrants that we serve. We work with all local agencies. Sometimes, not everybody has the same training. By us being able to do this active shooter training, we can enter a home the same way, search it the same way, and do it safer than we did it before. So this really allows us to have a lot of improved tactics and to keep everybody safe throughout the county. So it was a great week. You know, I'm glad you were able to come up, Rocky, to see that and really get a glimpse of what law enforcement officers will experience when we respond to situations like this. And that was just a small taste of what it would be like if this was an active scenario.
And it's just like the students in school. The instructor or teacher would stop them and tell them what they did wrong and what the right way is to do it. And I said, I mean, it was phenomenal what the instructors did. So thank you. Yeah. I do have one other thing, and I don't know, is the HR director here? I just want to, the past year, and this is to the students again, we did a salary study. That we were trying a two-step procedure to get better salaries to retain our people within Carbon County. The first step, a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say that, we corrected somewhere between 75 to 85% of the wages to give them a little bit of better wage, but there's 15% approximately that did not. And that was gonna be on our second stage, which we would incorporate into the budget this year. And how this is always presented, the departments come in here and the commissioners will present a proposal to them. Just like anybody would propose a contract to, you know, a union, labor unions. And the majority of the offices did accept that, but there were some that did not. And what wound up happening, that 15%, and I think the HR director could maybe hit a little bit more on that, but they did not accept to do that, and now those people are all at the 22 rate. They are not at the new 2023 rate, so I don't know if Mrs. Bowman, you can enlighten us a little bit on what the procedures are on how we do the salaries.
January of every year is a reset of all the salaries and positions that are within Carbon County. All elected officials are given an opportunity to reset all the salaries and positions for the new year. This year, with the salary board taking on this salary study, there were proposed sheets sent out to all elected officials, including courts. Like Mrs. Boney, as being the clerk of courts, she took that proposed and she came to salary board and she presented that as her exhibit to set the positions and salaries within her office for her staff. The courts chose otherwise and they did not go with what was proposed. They put together their own agenda and they presented that to the board, to which a lot of the motions failed on certain positions. There's about 24 positions. I would say 20 of those are under the court jurisdiction. There are 2 under the, I apologize, there are 3 under the district attorney. There is 1 under the pathonetary. where they made the proposed, what's the difference between the district attorney and the pathonetary is they took that proposed, they made that motion. But then they made alternate motions to increase the rates of pay for certain positions. Those motions died at the meeting because there were not enough votes to pass it. It died on a 3-2 vote. When it comes to 3-2 vote with salary board, the 3 commissioners are members of salary board, as well as the controller, and the elected official is now a member of salary board, so they have a vote also. So at that meeting, 2 people voted yes, 3 people voted no, so those motions failed for the lack of a majority vote. And this leaves these 24 individuals, or 24 positions, at the 2022 rate until the proposed motions are brought forth by the elected official to be accepted, or it just waits until salary board comes around with something else, and I would assume it's gonna wait till January 2024 and the vote goes through again for annual salary board.
Thank you. I have one of the, well, I actually have 2 things. I have one, the 525, children and youth, will be in there by the first week of June, completely. We're gonna move them, periodically through May, but the first week of June, they will be in there completely. I just wanna address the students. You've seen pretty much of government today, how it works, and Chris and I may disagree on some things, but we're gonna sit down and we're gonna work things out. We'll walk out of here and we'll work on different things, and that's what it's all about. I encourage any of you to get involved in your local government, and like I said, the food banks get started there, people help you, and you are our future. You know, we're getting up in age, but according to the drug and alcohol now, youth is from, I think, what did they say?
Up to
Like,
35.
Up to 35 years old. So I guess we're middle aged
Yeah,
now.
you're right,
I don't know, but it's like, but I thank every one of you for coming here, the students. I hope you got something out of it. And I don't know if anybody has any comments, or any of the students from any of the schools. Do you have anything to say? If you don't, I can pick you out. I have all your names. We can do it like a lottery, and but is there anyone that would actually? Did you actually enjoy it? At least one of you's got it. I see 2 shaking your head. Okay, both of you stand up and give us a little bit of a. How's that? See, you shouldn't shake your head around here. Go ahead.
I'll let you go first.
Oh yeah. What is your name and which school district are you from?
I am Brody Owens. This is. We are both from Panther Valley, but we are going to CCTI.
Mm-hmm.
I go in for graphic design there.
I am computer electronics engineering technology.
So what did you get out of today's visit?
Well, I've always been interested in government myself, so just seeing how the normal procedures go, it actually gives you a bit of an insight on how, like, behind the scenes go. You normally, like, when you
Right.
think of government, you think of, like, at the national level, all the national things that are going on, the debt limit, for example, right now.
Right.
But you never know, like, what's happening at the local level. They never focus on that. But I think nowadays we're starting to get the more important parts is your local government.
And that's what I think we were trying to get a point across. I said, we work with state senators. I think I've stressed that before. State senators are representatives, congressmen and women. And right here is where the boots are on the ground. I mean, we're the ones that implement everything that comes down from us from the bigger government. So I'm glad that I hope everybody got that out of this session today. So thank you on everybody, and meeting adjourned if there's no other part. Oh. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, a
Oh,
few,
yeah, I forgot.
yeah, we go.
Oh,
go
he
ahead.
wants to say, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
I was gonna say today I've been giving us a lot of insight into how we don't really see the people associated with these titles that down to the basic military are. They're handling a lot of different things, like our commissioner's handling 191 debt right now,
Mhm.
600 average a year, all these court cases, all these persecutions, all these defenses, but it's hard to see like, oh, yeah, sheriff, that's that person, or because you see these people not as necessarily people, you see them as a member of the government. It's hard to sort of sympathize with them or to understand what they are, but you're just people making sure everything's going right for us.
Yeah, that's a very good statement for that, and we do have an open policy here. Any department that's here, you can call up and ask questions if you have any kind of tough questions that don't answer them yourself, because sometimes they get answered the wrong way. Go to the source, and like I said, every department here, every row officer will answer your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So a couple comments. First, I got Dawn and Rocky were talking about the salary board. For the students, I want to take you back to the discussions about authorities and responsibilities. Talked about the authority that the Board of Commissioners has in regards to budget, contract, and the role we play on the salary board. So actually, some of those motions for pay increases that Dawn was referring to actually passed the salary board. However, the department's approved salary did not allow, let's say they did not have sufficient funds in their budget, approved budget, for that. What ended up happening with those particular motions, the department or row officer the row officer was actually asking for an additional a tranche of funds to support those pay increases. So that came to the Board of Commissioners. Do we want to transfer, $10,000 to row office X to support those pay increases? And Commissioner Arner and myself voted no for multiple reasons, due to primarily precedents that would set, not only in Carbon County, but throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So again, I talked about, we have other tools we can use to help ensure conformity and do what's in the best interest of Carbon County residents. In reference to Dawn is a multi-decade employee, human resources director here in Carbon County, whose last, let's say, official day of work is going to be the end of this week. So I want to thank her for everything she has given to the county, to the employees, and by that indirectly to all the citizens of Carbon County over her multi-decade career. Wish her the best of luck as she quote-unquote retires and transitions actually into a position with the IU within the Jim Thorpe School District, working there. I want to also thank the National Association of Counties. And the reason I mention that, because that organization started National County Government Month, which we're in right now in the month of April. And thank them for bringing this opportunity to us to bring local students in to help educate in the realm of civic and really a citizen responsibility to be informed citizens. Something like what you're seeing on our screen right now, we live stream every public meeting we have. This particular one, 10:30, so you can watch it 24/7, right? Jump off of TikTok, YouTube, wherever you're at, and you can watch Rocky, Wayne, and I, do what we do. And a lot of it is pretty, passing of items that are very routine. But we've made a conscious effort to bring light to county government. And you will see with Rocky and I, we discuss a lot here. It's not back in the smoke-filled room of yesteryear. We have the discussion out here so citizens can be better informed and understand our positions and how we weigh and assess things when it comes to the importance of the issue to the citizens of Carbon County. Just a public announcement. Christine LeClaire, our Veterans Director, has announced that she'll host a Vets Vote event campfire 16 May 2023 at Mock Chunk Lake Park from 5 to 7. So any veterans or family members interested in that, please give Christine LeClaire a call down at the Director's Veterans Affairs office in Carbon County. And I think that will be it. Yeah.
All right, meeting adjourned. Amy,
Good morning, gentlemen. It's not on the agenda, but what is the update on this building in regards to, damage?
it's still not in, I don't know if you're gonna call it limbo, but the adjuster and our CCAP insurance that is working it out. I did send them the last of it, they need it like, when we have to move people around here in the building, I had to send them a bill for the IT, that, moving everybody around during if it's gonna be a 6-week operation, it's probably like $5,100, for overtime and, whatever has to be done. But I'm hoping that that's gonna be done shortly. The one down at the 44 building, that was all drywall damage on the bottom. And we're gonna wait, we do, have a contractor, there's 2 of them that, we didn't decipher which one is gonna be doing it yet. But, that will wait till after the election, cause the elections we can't disturb that, so that'll stay like that. And this here, I'm hoping, by the end of next week, they're gonna have this all resolved, that we can start on this.
And I know a few weeks ago, you guys took out that loan, because of the whole operation. Have you guys received any money from the state with that yet, or?
I don't think we did, but it's supposed to, I think Jeff had said that he was gonna check that there was that first payment on the way. And I sort of forgot about it, and, maybe when I get out of this meeting here, I will call the governor's office again if we don't have it. And like I said, we have a good relationship with everybody. I mean, we call the governor's office and they respond to us. So I think Carbon County is very fortunate of all the people that we have here, at whatever level it is.
And then today with Government Day, how many students are actually here today?
Oh, God. I'll have to get that.
We have
to-
all except
Yeah.
Lehigh
Yeah,
Area
Lehigh
School
Heights
District that had a
couldn't do it.
conflict.
Okay.
Yeah. So that also includes Marion High School, which is here also.
Thank you. And that's all I have, then, thank you.
18, correct? Yeah, the one, I think one couldn't show up, I think it's on there. Okay. All right, well, thank you, and we will be taking the,
Ryan?
oh, Ryan, I forgot about him. Ryan.
I don't have anything, but thank you.
Sorry, Ryan. He already has a story about me going crazy on camera, right? All right, thank you. And we're looking forward, I guess we're gonna have to try and, is there who's directing them to go to the 911 center, or do they know to go there? Does every,
993. Into where the correctional facility is, but do not take the road to the correctional facility.
Take the high road.
yeah,
Take the high
Take
road.
the road to your left.
when you get near the dog shelter, make a left. And we'll try not to make it as boring. I think the 911 center, seeing how they operate and how they do calls every day, is gonna be a little bit more exciting than I think what we gave here. All right, thank you, everyone.
Take care, guys.